This is a public service announcement from the Office of King's Counsel. I am a woman from a foreign jurisdiction, and I can see that there's things going on in the province of British Columbia that are causing harm to those around me. And I have an obligation, duty, and responsibility to make changes so everyone is treated fairly. So it has been written to feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as noon. It is written that it's evil to despise one who is less fortunate than you. But when you are kind to the poor, you will prosper and be blessed. It is written that if you refuse to listen to the cry of the poor, your own cry for help will not be heard. It is written that you shall not steal. It is written that you are not to act against the life of your neighbor. These are laws of the peculiar people that we know as the way, the truth, and the life. These are the laws of love. Without truth, there is no love. So all that someone needs to be set free from the lies is for someone to tell them the truth. Pursuant to Leviticus 19:17, I have an obligation, duty, and responsibility to correct those who are in error and acting wickedly, as to not incur guilt upon myself. A woman who understands how to love my neighbor as I love myself. For those of you who haven't heard me speak before, I have an INFJ personality type that is the rarest in the world. Please look it up. I also possess Rh negative blood, and scientists claim that blood type has no earthly origin. Pursuant to Leviticus 25:35 through 36, it has been written, "Now if your neighbor becomes destitute and cannot support themselves, you are to help them like a foreigner or temporary resident, so that they can continue to live among you. Do not take any interest or profit from the poor, but fear the King of Kings, the living one, that these ones may live among you." It is written in Deuteronomy 15:7, "If there are poor among you, you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from the poor." Now, I've done some research, as I always do before I create a public service announcement, to give sound counsel to those who are having a difficult time understanding what the right thing to do is. Inadequate standard of living is both a cause and a result of inequality and injustice. Poverty in British Columbia is high. 1 in 10 residents live in poverty, and those receiving basic assistance are still left with an annualized income less than 50% of the poverty line threshold. BC has the worst poverty rate in Canada. The reason why BC has the worst poverty rates in Canada is not poor economic performance, but lack of social spending, a large low-wage sector, and big gender pay gaps. Now, as a woman with eyes that see and ears that hear, I'm an empath. I'm highly sensitive. I feel the world with my eyes and with my ears. I have been homeless and destitute since March 19th, 2020, after CIBC agents and their solicitors stole my interest private property and then embezzled the entire estate. In yet another act of hate, in yet another act of genocide. So I am basically become an expert on the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Now, it says here that some of these, well, they call themselves honorable. That's certainly not my experience with them. So apparently these public servants are making close to $250,000 a year. All right, okay. And I also have knowledge that they received a raise on April the 1st. And my understanding that raise was over $1,500 a month. Now, as a client of the Ministry of Poverty Reduction, I have not received any extra income to offset the outrageous inflation that's happening right now. So, Mr. Nicholas Simmons, you are the Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Now I'm going to explain to you why I'm going to show you a mustard seed of respect, because I am a woman who pays attention to everything, because I know that everything means something and everything is important. Now I'm a woman who has survived an act of genocide by way of having my highly marketable son abducted, kidnapped in 2009, shortly afterwards chosen to be trafficked because he was highly marketable. And as a mother, I was screaming from the mountaintops for help. I was screaming for someone to listen. You were the only MLA who wrote me back and asked me where I was. The only one. And that's why I will be as kind as I can to you. The other reason is, there's no coincidence that you are in charge of one of the most important public services in the province of British Columbia. And I must ask you to listen to all the directions in the sound counsel I'm about to provide for you, because I will not allow myself to watch you destroy yourself by destroying others, which is exactly what's happening. And I must put a stop to that, and I mean a full stop. Because as we can see, you carry a title, the title of honorable. So just so we understand each other, Mr. Nicholas Simmons, to be honorable is to tell the truth, to be fair, and to be worthy of respect. It is to be conscientious and scrupulous and upright. Do you understand that? Because, sir, I do. I'm a righteous woman. I understand what it means to be honorable. The most honorable one sent me down from above to be a witness to the wickedness of my generation, which is right out of control, like dialed right out of control. So it didn't take me very long to do the research. What takes the time is to put together the PSA. And then what takes some more time is for me to calm down enough to record the public service announcement that I'm going to post on my social media accounts and on social media outlets. So in British Columbia, the cost of living for one individual is $2,000 a month. Now that doesn't include entertainment or trips to the dentist or saving for a rainy day or an emergency or clothing or medication or other basic needs that your neighbors might incur in their lives. In Saanich, it's a little higher. Now, I'm unfortunate to live in the district of Saanich, so that's why that information would be included there in this PSA. So as we can see from research here, the province of British Columbia has a annual revenue of close to $64 billion. And so I'm wondering where all that money's going. And I'm also wondering why those in high positions of public service are incapable of telling the truth. As we can see here, the CBC is reporting and other news outlets are reporting that there is billions of dollars in the coffer. Billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. And yet BC boasts the worst poverty rate in Canada? How can that be? That's a level of mental illness that I'm going to need to do something about. Because hoarding is actually a mental illness. And here's me with my righteous character on full display. From healthcare to homelessness, crises pile up as those who pretend to be the BC NDP let billions go unspent. Now, as a righteous woman, I hate falsehood. It's just not something I can stomach. So all these titles that evildoers go by, no thank you. There's no such thing as the BC NDP. No, there's no such thing. That's ridiculous. What that would be, it would be a group of evildoers who don't understand how to love their neighbor like they love themselves, quite obviously. That's what I see as a woman with eyes that see. So, the current income of the Canadian middle class is, well, we can see it, can't we here? We can see it, right? The median after-tax income, this is after tax, right? You have to rape everybody for all this, all their income. So the public servants can live high on the hog while the rest of us can't afford to live at all. But we're looking at $67,000. Lower middle class is about $33,000. Lower to middle class. Now, I'm not sure if any of you understand that there's two different species here on the earth. Like I, for one, am a woman because I don't have Rh positive blood. I have Rh negative blood, which means my blood doesn't have any Rh monkey DNA running through it. That's why my identity is a woman and not a female. However, despite the fact that 94% of my neighbors are actually defined legally as monsters, that's the definition of a human, because a human is not a man and it's not a woman, it's a different species. According to the way, the truth, and the life, they still have a right to be taken care of properly. Now, I was a cat mummy for 14 years, and I can tell you that she had the best food that money could buy that I could afford. She had a clean dish with clean water in it. She had a clean litter box, and she was heard. She was a female orange tabby, very rare, and she was a talker, and I listened to every meow. Because I loved her. And where I come from, being heard is the equivalent of being loved. So as we can see here, in the rivers of living water, in the bread of life, which is my native language, the native language of the peculiar people, the righteous care for the needs of their animals. Yes, that's right, exactly. So what is going on around here? What is the problem? The wicked are in positions that they shouldn't be in? Because that's my experience. That's what I'm seeing happen. The wicked are in positions they shouldn't be in. They're not loving their neighbors like they love themselves. Because I can guarantee you every single MLA in British Columbia not only has all of their needs met, they also have all of their wants met. Each and every MLA in British Columbia can go to the grocery store and buy exactly what they want. Every MLA in British Columbia can go to the dentist and have their dental health needs taken care of. Every single MLA in British Columbia has a roof over their head and savings just in case there's an emergency, and yet they will not afford that same kindness to their neighbors who might, for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter the reason, might need some help. So since I've been homeless, I mean, obviously I'm on the street. I have to go to food banks, and I'm around a certain type of individual, a certain type of person. And I'm watching and I'm listening. Some of these persons are hurting, and some of them actually do deserve help, like proper help, and they're not receiving it. So that's why I have to make sweeping changes, Mr. Simmons, which when I called you early in the year and I left a message for you, I did inform you, sir, that I would be making sweeping changes to how this ministry does and conducts its business with its clients. And so that's the time that we're at now. That's why I'm creating this PSA, which you are going to receive, and you are going to listen to my sound counsel, and you are going to follow all the instructions that I've asked you to perform without argument, without delay. Doing the right thing is elementary. It's not difficult. You're not going to go and run this through the legislature. You're going to open up the BC NDP purse, and you're going to provide for your neighbors their basic needs. Now, from my research and from me being around these individuals, I have a pretty good idea what needs to happen. I know exactly what needs to happen, actually, because again, I'm a woman, so men and women have jurisdiction. They have authority over humans. Do you understand that? I desperately need you to understand that, sir. That's why you have to follow what I'm going to ask you to do. Because I'm not going to stand by and sit by and watch you destroy yourself. Because you're destroying your neighbor. I don't want that for you. So what I did was I took $35,000 over a 12-month period, which comes out to $2,916 and change. And that will be the amount in October that will be issued to the persons with disabilities on this public service. There will be no delay in you contacting the computer programmers for this ministry, Mr. Simmons, because all that needs to happen is the computers for this ministry need to be adjusted. Most of this, if not all of it, is done by computers. And it's not difficult for you to contact these individuals who program the computers for this ministry and get these changes made within 5 days maximum. So here is a monthly report with my name on it. I'm a client of this ministry. Remember, this ministry is calling itself the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, and yet it does the exact opposite of that. I can't have that on my watch. I can't have that on my conscience, Nicholas. And neither can you. Neither can you, because I know you know better. I read souls. I know more about you than you know about yourself. So I need to explain to you what the Canadian pension plan is, because there's confusion here with this ministry. Now, the Canadian pension plan is a trust fund. Some Canadian citizens decide to pay into that trust fund for later on in their lives when they might retire, if and when they retire. Now, yes, their income has gone into the Canadian pension plan, and once that income is placed into the Canadian pension plan, it is no longer income. It's an inheritance. It's a benefit. It is not income. I cannot allow you, or this ministry, or the BCNDP, anybody acting as that corporation, that private for-profit corporation, to continue to tell that lie to cause harm to your neighbors. It is not income. Mr. Simmons, I'm going to ask you politely to contact the printers in the province and to have the Canadian Pension Plan removed from Section 2 of the monthly report. You need to do that immediately, sir, because it is a lie to claim that anybody receiving Canada Pension Plan, inheritance, benefit, or survivor pension benefits, which is what I receive, as income. It is not. And now for years, you have been subtracting my necessaries of life by that fraud. Fraud is illegal. It's an indictable crime. It's also an act of mischief, which is also an indictable crime. So as we can all see here, the directions that I have provided for you, which will take effect immediately, this ministry, calling itself Social Development and Poverty Reduction, will now provide a monthly total allowance to its clients of $2,535, because those are the basic needs of the clients on this public service. This is a public service. I don't want to be on this public service. However, I have been leveled by acts of genocide because I'm different. And as my brother prophesied, this world hates me, and it does. Everything written in the scriptures is my life. Everything my brother prophesied would happen to me has happened to me. I don't like being here, sir, but I'm here. And so for the entire year of 2022, I'm going to ask you politely, no later than Monday, October the 3rd, I've calculated from January to September, which is 9 months, the $556.55 that you have been not only illegally, but more importantly, unlawfully removing from my necessaries of life. I'm going to ask you politely to direct deposit into my account, because I receive my necessaries of life from this ministry via direct deposit, what is due and owing. Again, it's not rocket science, it's elementary, what I'm asking you to do. You must do this. I am not doing well, and I don't want to get into it with anybody. I know that I'm living in an age where love has grown cold, because this entire province and this entire country is lawless. You don't even follow the legal rules. I mean, if you're not going to follow my father's rules, the way, the truth, and the life, and now you won't even follow the legal rules, you won't even love your neighbors like you love yourself, where are we at in the age? Where are we at? So, Mr. Simmons, I'm also going to ask you to create a better working relationship between the social workers acting for this ministry and the clients. You are no longer permitted to pass clients around from social worker to social worker. You are now going to provide a client with a social worker. You're going to get to know the clients. You're going to get to find out why these clients need this help, and you're going to care about them personally. The service that I have received by this ministry has been literally torturous. I haven't recorded the calls for years, but I have become wise enough to record them now. I call up and I am terrorized by incompetence, by ignorance, by hatred, by lack of understanding, by lack of empathy. I don't need that kind of treatment in my life. I'm already having a hard enough time. Now, for instance, the last social worker I spoke to was a person who actually cared about me, spent time with me, we had a rapport, That's the kind of service this ministry must provide for those of us who might need help. And those changes start now. There needs to be a healthy working relationship between a social worker and a client. And by the way, Mr. Simmons, an act is not law. It's just a guideline at best. I learned that when I was in the process of my son being sold, trafficked. When I went to court and I fought, I heard that coming out of the mouth of a BC bar member when I cited the CFCSA. And then the thing standing beside me said, that's not a law, that's just a guideline. Turns out that child trafficker is right. That's right. So these are just guidelines. Some of these social workers are not fit for service. You have to show empathy and sympathy for those who might need some help. So have you understood everything that I've asked you to do? Because I haven't asked you to do anything that isn't good, right, and just. I do care about my neighbor very much, actually more so than about myself. I care about how they're doing, and I care that they're not doing well. The rate of inflation is out of control. This ministry hasn't provided an extra dime to any of its clients. Mr. Simmons, are you not reading the tweets? Because I am. Are you not on the street? In the food bank lineups? Because I am. I am. My basic needs are not being met. I don't feel cared about by this ministry except for the last social worker that I spoke to, and this individual spoke to me twice. And that's the only social worker I feel comfortable speaking to, because that's the only social worker who ever showed me a mustard seed of care and sympathy. I've been through hell for close to 5 decades. I don't need to be terrorized and traumatized by a social worker who has all of their needs being met. Medical, dental, flex days. Did they not just go on strike to receive more pay? And yet you have not lifted a finger to help any of the clients? No, not on my watch. Not on my watch. There's no way. There's no way I can allow that. Now, I would love to have a conversation with you, but it seems like all the MLAs in British Columbia refuse to actually engage with anybody here. You all hide behind answering machines, and you hide behind secretaries and whatever else you hide behind. Is that appropriate? No. So the changes that I've just made to this ministry take effect immediately. So by the next pay cycle, which will be the 3rd week of October, those on regular assistance will be receiving $2,500 per month so they can have their basic needs met, because it is very stressful and very hard on physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, to not have your basic needs met. And the persons with disabilities are going to be receiving close to $3,000 a month. Those persons with disabilities need extra care. They have disabilities. I also identify as a woman with disabilities because I speak a language this world doesn't understand.